All right, good evening and welcome to the July 21st, 2021 council meeting for the Village of Sunbury, 7:30 p.m. Let's start with a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Belcher, roll call, please.
Joe St. John.
Here.
Damon Capel.
Here.
Greg Elliott.
Here.
Tim Goes.
Here.
Martin Fisher.
Here.
Dave Martin.
Here.
Cindy Cooper. Here. 7 yeas.
We did have a meeting on July 7th, 2021. The minutes are up for approval.
Motion to approve.
Motion by David Martin,
Second.
second by Gregory Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
You have one visitor this evening, I believe. It's Mrs. Deborah Miller, and we are excited to have you back. And we would like to appoint Mrs. Miller to the Planning and Zoning Commission. You may recall, she was one of our council applicants. She's a fairly new resident to the Village of Sunbury, City of Powell, former finance director. And it's our pleasure to appoint you to the Planning and Zoning Commission with your first meeting coming up on Monday. We'd love to get you sworn in this evening.
Need a motion and a vote on the appointment.
I proudly make the motion to appoint Mrs. Deborah Miller to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll second that.
Second by David Martin. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Welcome.
Would you like to be sworn this evening?
Good
Not swear at you.
luck. Break it up into 3 or 4 words at a time. It's difficult.
I, Deborah K. Miller,
Do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
or affirm
that
that
I will support
the laws of the United States of America,
the laws of the United States of America,
the state of Ohio,
the state of Ohio,
and the village of Sunbury,
and the village of Sunbury,
and to faithfully,
and to faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member
as a member
of the Sunbury Planning and Zoning Commission
of the Sunbury Planning and Zoning Commission
for the duration
for the duration
of my term
of my term
in office.
in office. Thank you very much.
It's official.
I'll see you on Monday.
And I believe we owe her a binder of our zoning code. Alan, if you could make a note and then maybe we'll have Steve provide those
Somebody will
tomorrow.
just call me. I'll be happy to pick it up.
Okay, I'll do that
That's
for
great.
sure.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to committee reports. We'll go around the horn. Mr. Martin.
I don't have a committee report tonight.
Mrs. Cooper.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Fisher.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Capel.
I don't have anything tonight.
Mr. Goes.
Yes, we had a finance committee meeting just before this meeting, this evening, and the major items of discussion were with a presentation from iCloud Billing. And we're discussing the possibility of moving toward them in the future. So we have a lot more further discussion to go there before we make a decision. Secondly, we heard that the first disbursement of the American Rescue Plan Act funds in the amount of $333,475 has been approved, and it should be coming to us any day now. And the other half, I think, within 10 days thereof as well. We went over the reports Ms. Belcher did of the finances, and nothing remarkable there to speak of. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Mr. Elliott.
Nothing for me.
Thank you. We do have a zoning meeting on Monday evening. That is where we will be hearing the zoning application for the ravines at Meadow Ridge. Thank you.
Couple other items too, I neglected to mention. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. On our finance committee meeting, we spoke about the new contract we're going to discuss here tonight. We have a first reading, I believe, on the agenda for the law director contract. And then a discussion was had about the Little Walnut Trunk sewer and the expenses we're going to have to make to remedy a situation out there and possibly pursuing another channel of recovery.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, and we are on to the police report. We have Chief Howard here with us this evening. That microphone may not be on. Do we have the close-up camera
We
for
just
Chief
talked, it
Howard?
was on when we did the swearing in.
There it is.
No, it's not too late.
Thank you.
Don't really have a report per se, just wanted to, I told you at the last meeting, I would give you some information on the Granville Street speed sign that we have up. I'll just go over those real quick. We had a total of 11,542 cars pass that in 7 days, and it ran from the 7th to the 14th. Out of all those vehicles, I was very surprised that we've only written 65 citations if we would have been there the whole time and clocked every car that went through. So that the average speed was around 33 to 34 miles per hour. Give you another breakdown. The ones that were going exactly to the speed limit or 5 mile an hour below was 1,500 of those. 2025 was almost 400. 100 were going 20 mile an hour or less, down to 40 of them going 10 miles an hour. We would have sent out roughly 4,500 written or verbal warnings on that. So I didn't think that that was a bad study at all there. The speed sign set up on Let's right now, it'll come down on the 25th, and then the 26th it's scheduled to go up on Hartland Meadows. That's all I have on that, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Thanks for the update on the radar sign. I know I would say that we're getting an increasing number of requests for the radar sign. And I guess this isn't probably the format. Just wanted to throw it out there that we may want to look at getting another one. It seems, in my opinion, it tends to deter. And I love the analysis portion of it as well.
I priced them actually today, because like you, I would like to get a couple more and keep getting these requests to go up over different areas. Right now we have 2. If we can get a couple more, I'd probably assign someone else to help with that, with the signs, because Officer Whiteside does a great job, but there's a lot of stuff with that is getting mounted and checking batteries. And as you know, he was checking some data on the 15th. He stopped recording on the 14th.
Do they have solar power battery cells in them or?
No, those are brought in, charged just like you would basically your cell phone. I mean, they last. It depends on it. We had a resident that thought we were turning it off because it wasn't displaying speed. Those are set where we just set them to go on 6 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour, over whatever. And on that particular stretch of road over there, if we had that set where it come on right at 35, that battery would be dead in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's playing.
Well, that's why I was asking about the solar things. Is that an option for
It
those?
is an option, but it also limits where we can mount it. I mean, if you have to worry about mounting the sign and then the solar device as well, we looked into that. It's just gonna be next to impossible to,
Okay,
unless you had it someplace where it's a fixed location.
Right.
Like a school zone
yeah,
and it gave you speed, that might be an option. We also looked at, because we're limited where we could put them and what kind of poles we could put them on. we looked at maybe like a portable stand that could go on, but then we looked at that and it's a stand with two wheels that. Somebody just gonna put their wheel on like a.
Yeah.
Like a cart, and then you're gonna find it.
Yeah.
Gonna grow legs.
Yeah. So we have looked into some, they're anywhere from, so ones like we have right now, ballpark is $2,500 to $3,500 depending on which one you go. But these are steep question, but yeah, the two that we've had for a while, we just replaced the batteries last year. We've got like 5 years out of the first set of batteries, and we helped get them replaced. They're like, that's unheard of. You know, they should have been done in 2.5 to 3 years. We're getting on with that.
Did any of those statistics surprise you?
It actually did
Granted.
it did up there, because with the complaints we were getting, I thought, man, we had a really big problem up here, and I was actually contemplating how we're gonna fix this. Because obviously we can't sit there all day long, we can't. There's all these streets in town that, no matter what streets they live on, people speed down, and then they call and say, hey, they're speeding on my street, what can I do? You need to get down here, you need to be present. It's impossible. And I really thought that the speeding issue would be more up there. And when you break it down, it was 0.5%. It's like 0.53% of people we would cite. Like I said, out of 11.5, we would have cited 65 people.
That's if you're sitting there 100% of the time with an
Yeah, the whole
officer.
time.
I mean, you spend $3,500 in a week doing that.
Yes. I was very surprised. The only other question I have is, we talked about training last meeting, and I haven't heard from anybody. I don't know if we're still doing that, what dates you're thinking, scratch it, what we're doing.
Can we defer it 1 month just due to personal capacity issues and 24 hours in a day? And we defer it 1 month.
I was taking it in September.
September, it's a little
That'd be-
cooler.
Yeah.
A little cooler. It won't show all our nervous sweats. What's that?
I said it'll show that anyway.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, we'll move it to September then. I'll get some dates and I'll bring back the
Okay.
next meeting of what we can do. And I guess on that note, I'll let you know that our officer who does our training, who he had the mask on his back, is why he was off. And it did come back that it was cancer,
Mhm.
but they got it all and said that he shouldn't have any issues in the future.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
It's great.
And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Chief, and thanks for understanding us deferring for 1 month. We want to get through some critical personnel issues and go into the new school year right.
Totally understand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, we are on to the proclamation for the administrator.
Oh, I didn't see that in here.
I would love to deliver this proclamation to our administrator. So bear with me. There's quite a few whereases in here.
You shouldn't have.
I would like to make the proclamation, whereas Alan Rothermel has announced his retirement effective on July 31st, 2020. After serving Sunbury for over 6 years with professionalism and as an example of the best attributes of a public servant. And whereas he has successfully assisted Sunbury in navigating challenges of growth, a pandemic, and preparing the community to become a city. And whereas Sunbury staff will miss the opportunity to visit both a polar and tropic environment by simply stepping from one adjoining office to another. Kathy. And whereas Sunbury Council residents and staff will miss his warm personality and hearty laugh. And whereas Alan Rothermel has executed his duties faithfully with a consistent stewardship of public dollars. Now therefore, I proclaim on behalf of the council, Sunbury employees, and the citizens of Sunbury that I express to Alan Rothermel our sincere appreciation for his loyal and distinguished service as administrator in making Sunbury a small town with big ideas and perfect balance and a great place to live, work, and play. Thank you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Beer at the tavern, man.
Thank you so
That
much.
was very unexpected and very appreciated. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to serve you guys for 6 years. Really
It's
has.
been hours, that's for sure.
I don't have any reciprocal thing to give except my report, if that's okay. We're getting a little closer on filling some key vacancies. Made an offer which was accepted by Olivia Ballard to serve as our next administrative staff. We anticipate her start date is August 16th. She comes to us by way of Delaware County Building Department, and looking forward to. I think you'll enjoy her personality and drive and enthusiasm. I included in my report tonight the charge point figures both for the month of June and the second quarter. The numbers are about what they have been, 6 to 8 charges per month. And I think over time, as we fill June's position, as we get everyone in place, we can, and then maybe start a more of a opportunity to publicize what we have here. We can get that up and maybe start to talk about numbers and are we truly hitting the kinds of numbers that we'd hope to and those kinds of things. But I think for initially, at least it's being used on a monthly basis fairly consistently. We just need to get those numbers up. On the other plus side, there's a picture in your report of the new bucket truck came in this morning, and the guys were out this afternoon fixing the street lights. So that couldn't have come soon enough. And it is quite a truck. If you have an opportunity to see it or you're interested in seeing it, give me or Brad a call and we'd be happy to show that off. At some point, we might maybe precede a meeting with him being parked out front and show you that way if that would be nice, or if that would be of interest to you.
In the parade next year, July 4th parade.
What's that?
Be in the July 4th parade next year.
Yeah.
Mayor of the bucket.
They might, you can put Santa in there maybe for Christmas, who knows, but it's and the only other thing I have is, as the chief had mentioned, we are getting a number of parking, traffic, safety concerns, really in multiple neighborhoods. I think somewhat because of the anticipation of school starting and the anticipation of heavier traffic and what have you. We're also getting at safety of kids playing in the neighborhood. We do have narrow streets. We do have a lot of no parking. So there's parking anywhere in the Platts, even on some blind curves and things of that nature. So it really does lend itself to us taking an examination and coming back to you. You probably all know that 35216 is our sign ordinance, and it is specific and the only way to put in additional no parking is through ordinance to do something like that. So it just has to be thought through. One thing that was brought to our attention is that in one neighborhood in particular, there are every fire hydrant in front of it there's evidence that there used to be years ago yellow paint there, and it has not been repainted in over 6 years in the time that Brad's been here. And we need to look at that and to determine if that's, because if that were done, I think some people have gotten a little complacent, and in some areas of town, they just nudge up to those things. And next thing you know, they're blocking the hydrant altogether. So, but it's hard for the chief to enforce things if we're not maintaining them such that there's a yellow marking or a no parking sign or something. So we just need to make a more conscientious effort of that, I think. And I just wanted to let you guys know that we are working on it. I've got Brad and the chief. And when I talked to both of them, they had gotten calls in addition to the ones I had. So we're amassing quite a few calls in a consistent way of concerns. And it's no surprise, I think there are concerns about North Miller as the school buses are going to come in and out of there. Even still with the construction going on, there seems to be a lot of concern of traffic with the workers coming home at night or even at lunchtime, just barreling through there. And there are really some safety concerns. So all things we need to pay attention to.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
On the traffic on Miller and Cherry, I was gonna ask David Parkinson if that traffic signal and the sensors were calibrated correctly. It seems like something's off a little bit now that we've added the turn lane. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it's almost like it's letting it run a green light too long in one area and then it's not picking up turn signals and things. Tim, you would probably be most familiar with it heading back that way, but I wanted to have Parkinson just take a look and make sure that everything was calibrated correctly.
We'll definitely need to do that.
Thank you. And the last thing I wanted to say, and this is not pomp and circumstance related, I just want to say a real sincere thanks to Alan for really putting a heavy emphasis on filling key staffing vacancies. You know, we've doubled our staff in the wastewater treatment plant in the last 60 days. We've gone from 2 to 4, which is excellent. And honestly, the hiring and the process that Alan undertook with hiring Olivia Ballard, the former June Deal position, just grade A process, plenty of great candidates. And we definitely got the right person coming in here. Really looking forward to it. But thank you so much for putting a heavy emphasis on it. I know you can't accomplish everything before you leave. It's impossible, but you did a really good job prioritizing it. I want to say thanks very much. You set us up for success.
Happy to do it.
Thanks, Alan.
We're on to the engineer's report that was submitted. Mr. Parkinson could not be here. Are there any questions that like me to summarize back to Mr. Parkinson at this point? Okay. All right, we are on to resolutions. We have a third reading, resolution 2021.10. A resolution authorizing the village director of finance to expend funds from police impact fees to purchase patrol rifles and declaring an emergency. This is a third reading, and I was going to question, do we need the emergency?
The emergency is just waits the 30 days. And they're already on order. We've had the 3 readings.
They're completed. I got an email yesterday. They are completed. They've been testified. They're ready for us. And they show them as soon as they receive them.
What kind are they, chief?
AR-15s.
Oh, okay.
Motion on the emergency.
A motion by David Martin,
Second.
second by David Capel on the emergency. Discussion, roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on resolution 2021.10.
Excuse me, motion by David Martin,
Second.
second by David Capel. Discussion, roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
7 yeas.
We have no second readings. We do have a first reading, resolution 2021.11. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. We've already discussed this in finance. This is just a first reading. We are on to ordinances, third reading. Ordinance number 2021.27, an ordinance authorizing the sale of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit personal property at public auction pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, section 721.15, and declaring an emergency. And when is the actual auction?
Next Wednesday.
Okay, so we'll need to pass this by emergency.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion, I think we just need,
Oh, got it. Yeah, we've had 3 readings, just needed motion on the emergency.
This is it. Okay. Motion on the emergency.
we have a motion on the emergency,
Second.
second by Gregory Elliott. Do we need to remove his original motion?
No, because it never got a second or anything.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Discussion. Roll call.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on ordinance number 2021.27. Joe St. John,
Second.
second by Gregory Elliott. Discussion? Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
We have a second reading on ordinance 2021.33 and ordinance approving the commercial and industrial site plan and building application of Story Properties LLC and Vantage Logistics for construction of building expansion and relocated site for parking to be located at 730 Kinder Parkway and declaring an emergency. Spoke to Dave Parkinson. This is just a second reading. Still has some review to do by our engineer. We're on the first readings. Ordinance 2021.34. This is one thing we did not talk about in the finance meeting, and I meant to, and I apologize. But, we'll summarize this after I read it. An ordinance ratifying the confirming expenditures made pursuant to a temporary increase in the non-legislative purchase order authorization limits to $10,000 during the pendency of the stay-at-home order or any subsequent orders of the Ohio Department of Health in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and declaring an emergency. In short, what this is last year, when the pandemic hit, we increased the spending limit for the mayor to $10,000 in the event that there were emergent situations. We never, let me put it to you this way. It was specific to the stay-at-home orders. Stay-at-home orders expired sometime. I don't have the exact date.
June 2nd, I believe it was.
Okay. There were a series of purchase orders that were made. Was it June 2nd?
It was June 2nd last year that was expired, but we neglected that part.
Okay. I think it was June 2nd of this year.
The
Okay.
the increase was to allow for protocols to be suspended during COVID. What the ordinance reflected was the stay at home. The stay at home didn't last very long. There was a time where there was a stay at home order, like don't leave your house.
Yeah.
That was subsequently modified to a stay safe. And of course, we were observing protocols until this month, where we were meeting virtually and so forth. So everyone thought, well, we're still in COVID, which everybody knows we have been in COVID to some extent through, well, this is what your second meeting that you've done in person. When we actually looked at the actual ordinance, we realized, we've been proceeding, thinking we needed to move out of it now because we're back to in-person meetings. We realized, well, really, we should have done something differently before. So there's a list of purchase orders. I said to Kathy, just make the list of all the purchase orders that were done. They were done in reliance on the fact that there was the authority to spend the money. Everything that was spent was for normal governmental activities. It just was authorized pursuant to that increased spending limit. So what this is doing is ratifying the fact that those expenditures were legitimate and therefore, retroactively approving them. And I want to make sure that that's done just in case an auditor or somebody, which would be a very difficult thing to catch, for a very diligent audit. But if they did, we can say, yes, we realize that. And we've now made them to, during the pendency of any of the orders, whether they're stay at home or stay safe through now.
Great questions on that one.
Do we declare an emergency or is it?
I put emergency language in it. I just assume get it done and cleaned up sooner than later, because again, there are people that were paid and money expended based on this. It was inadvertent. It's hopefully a once in a lifetime event for us. And it's not a road we have to travel down again, but I did put emergency language on it.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
A motion to suspend the rules by Greg Elliott. Second by Martin Fisher and David Martin.
And Tim Ghost was getting ready.
Discussion. Roll call.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin,
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
A motion on the emergency.
A motion on the emergency. Greg Elliott, Martin Fisher, pass the gun. Discussion. Roll call.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin,
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on ordinance 2021.34.
Motion on the ordinance,
Second.
second by Martin Fisher. Discussion, roll call.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance number 2021.35, an ordinance awarding the contract for the Ohio Fallen Heroes Trail Phase 2 project to Face Meyer Landscaping LLC of Sunbury, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. A little bit of background on this. I think we do want to pass it. We know, all the expenses, the grant money, we're ready to go. And there's a potential that we may even get a Phase 3 in this year.
Yes, and $50,000 of the $124,000 was granted to us via the grant through the TAP Trail Assistance Program County. So
What reading
Motion
was
to
this?
suspend the
Oh.
rules.
We have a motion to suspend the rules,
Second.
second by Gregory Elliott. Discussion, roll call.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
yes,
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on the
Got a
emergency.
motion by David Martin,
Yeah, second.
second by Greg Elliott. Discussion, roll call.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
yes,
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
yes,
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on ordinance number 2021.35.
Second.
Second by Gregory Elliott, first by David Martin in reverse order. I want to give credit to Tim Goes for really in bulldog fashion, staying on top of our trails and our engineer and the granting authority and our administration and and for the park support by Mrs. Cooper and Mr. Martin. Really great job. Keep up the good work. You're doing the right thing. Your kids will thank you. My kids will thank you. And roll call.
thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
Yes,
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Still on first readings, ordinance 2021.36, an ordinance providing for the employment of a director of law. Unless there's any discussion, we're gonna go on new and unfinished business. Right. We're gonna go around the horn, new and unfinished business.
And probably a good time to do it, just so we don't forget, to add to the agenda under new WIT business, the Little Walnut Creek Interceptor change order to Helms and Sons. And that would also be the AEP contract, 2 items. To be
Yes.
added.
I believe,
I need a motion and a second just to add those items to the agenda.
do you need the exact sums, Dave?
We'll go ahead and put it, we can put it in the motion, I think. I just want
Okay.
to make sure they're on the agenda.
Okay.
We can put the sums. The sums for Helms is 80,000
Mm-hmm.
and for AEP,
Around 5, I think, wasn't it?
55.
5 something. Go ahead and put, and that one I think is a set number and we have a contract, so we can get the exact number. If somebody has it, I've got to change.
I do not.
I got it.
Hold on, got it.
79,000.
For 5387.66. 5,387.66 cents.
I'd like to make a motion to add that purchase order to the agenda.
I'll second.
Second by Greg Elliott.
I think
Discussion.
it'd probably actually be 2, just to be clear. One-
2 separate purchase
yeah,
orders?
yeah. One's to be AEP and one's going to be the Helms, different.
We need 2 motions or 1 motion?
Just one motion, you're just adding both those items to the agenda. You can add them both. but
To
we'll-
clarify, I'd like to make a motion to add 2 purchase orders to the agenda. With second by Greg Elliott. Right. May as well take action on this now.
They need a roll call?
We have, yep, let's go with the roll call, sorry.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yep, yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
I'm just curious, Mr. Breen. Should Mr. St. John's motion have included the numbers of the purchase order numbers just to keep it straight in the records?
Well, I think we verbalized though, if Kathy can just reflect that in
Oh,
in the
okay.
minutes, I think that would be good enough. And the actual motion to approve it is gonna have the numbers too, when we get to that
Yeah,
point here in
all
a
right,
second.
thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a purchase order to AEP in the total amount of 5387.66 for the contribution of construction.
And as probably was detailed to you in your finance meeting, what was discovered was when the sewer leaves our existing lift station, which is where it starts, and then it goes across the Marhover property from which you got an easement, and then it goes up Golf Course Road. There's electric line in the way. It's the main electric line for the whole subdivision. We secured engineering plans from an engineering firm that had engineered that on behalf of a private developer. That easement was not reflected on those plans. So an error was made somewhere. Either the engineering firm reached out to AEP and
An omission, according to CT, sorry.
an omission. Either the AEP didn't properly inform them about the existence of the line, or the question was never asked, one or the other. Nevertheless, we're in the midst of the project. We've got tight timeframes on the project. We've got a contractor that's out there that can't do the job absent additional authority. He needs AEP to actually do what they need to do to shut the lines off and repower the lines. But the contractor is actually going to have to rerun lines, dewater, and some other things. The change order for the contractors for the additional work the contractor did not anticipate and could not have anticipated because it wasn't in the bid specs. The AEP is what they are saying they're required to do, what it will cost us, their cost to do what their part of it. Our intent is to go ahead and move forward with the project. We have to complete the project. To a certain extent, if we'd have known about this before, some of this would have been included in the project and the cost would have been more. But there are incremental costs that could have been avoided had it been done properly in the first place. So we are going to pursue whatever means we need to pursue as far as errors and omissions, filing notice and a claim on the insurance that hopefully will be responsible, but this will keep the project moving forward. Kathy's got concerns, I can tell. Go ahead, Kathy.
For the $80,000, why don't we approve it as a change order? Let it write it.
Will be, that's the next thing. This is just for the AEP, this motion.
And we have to write a check to AP for that amount.
Well, I'm just gonna have them authorize the execution of the change order.
Okay,
To the extent, and that will allow them to move forward. If we need to clean up our documentation letter with a purchase order and a number, we could do that the next meeting.
okay.
We just want to get out of the contractor's way, it was, is what it was.
Where are we? Do we have a motion? In a
You have a
second?
you motioned for AEP's purchase order. I'll second.
Second by Greg Elliott. Discussion? Any more discussion?
I'd like to add that to the motion that the expense is subject to CT review for its fairness and reasonableness.
Yeah, good point, especially when we get to the Helms and Sons
Yeah.
side of it, because I think that's a little more fluid. AEP, when they have it to 66 cents, I think they're pretty well on the scope. But on the Helms and Son, there was definitely an indication from Dave, who couldn't be here tonight, that they're still working through the exact scope and the quantities and things of that nature, so.
Roll call?
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Dan McCaffrey,
Yes.
7 days.
So your next item would be a motion to approve a change order for the Little Walnut Creek Interceptor Sewer Project to Helms and Associates not to exceed $80,000, contingent upon a final engineering and legal review.
I'll make a motion for
Yep.
what Mr. Green
What
just
you
said.
said. I'll second that.
You got it. Got a motion by Greg Elliott, second by Martin Fisher. Discussion? Roll call?
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Dan McCaffrey,
Yes.
7 days.
Good deal. I'm gonna go around the horn, new and unfinished business. We'll come back to these items here. David Martin, new or unfinished?
Only that I was told yesterday I'd probably be back in my house in 90 days.
Awesome.
Nice. That's
It's
cool.
only been a year and 3 weeks at this point.
Wow.
I've been following your updates. I like those updates.
Yeah.
The mow the
Definitely be
grass,
under-
stop for
That
water.
would definitely be under unfinished.
Yeah, I don't recommend having people drive into your house. Just, you know.
Thank you for sharing. Mrs. Cooper?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing here.
Nothing here.
Do have one item, and Alan may want to comment further. We received an email from a representative from Pan, Ohio, right? The cancer organization
Oh,
about the bike
Yes.
ride.
Yep, yep.
And I think that's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, it starts tomorrow. It goes 4 days. It's a cancer, yeah, similar to the Pelotonia, but a different group with the Cancer Society. They're going to be kind of spearheading the whole thing out of Otterbein College. Each of the 4 days, 2 of the 4 rides will go directly through Sunbury, and we will have numbers of bikers from morning through the afternoon. One's an 85-mile John, and then one's just under 100 miles. And so they've been very upfront as to the route and the times. Police has that information.
I've seen signs up already.
Yeah, and so we anticipate no problems whatsoever, and thank them for their really their preparedness on this whole thing. And if you see bikers out tomorrow, and encourage them, because many of them have come from they're coming from all over Ohio, if not.
Are they doing a water bottle stop at the gazebo this time? Because they have in the past used that as a place to stop and get a breather.
They didn't indicate where they were. They indicated they had them all accounted for, but they didn't let us know. So I'm thinking perhaps not, but I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah.
They do have lunch stops and things that did not include us, so that none of their scheduled events or stops were including Sunbury.
Several hundred bikes, I believe, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The email, like I said, 300 is what she.
That's right.
And she also sent me an email telling me that she needed, they had all their security taken care of, and so these presents for, taken from medics, that they have their own groups.
You guys are ready, right?
They're right.
They're ready, and they gave us a great big FYI, so
Yeah, it was-
to their credit.
I agree. It's great. Thanks.
That's
for
it.
Well, high level, just, I had a conversation, nothing is concrete, obviously, but with the Little League organization that actually runs like the Little League World Series. They're interested in potentially having a league here in Sunbury. So nothing is just, we had a first conversation, so potentially more to come. And I'll work with Tim and the rest of the Parks Department on that. So
Excellent. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Good deal. I just had a couple things. I want to thank the chief and Jason Holderby from District 13. We had a really positive conversation about District 13 Sunbury Sizzle and Sound Safety Plan. So with them being a newly opened restaurant last year, they were open, but because of the pandemic, we didn't have Sizzle. And we talked about some of the complexities that, may have been overlooked, like it's legal to sell to-go drinks now in Ohio. How will that be handled? And we got a really positive response from Jason committing not to sell to-go drinks on that day, knowing they could impose unnecessary risk to our citizens and those partaking in festivities. So the liquor permit does not go into District 13. It's the same geographic location it has been in the past. I believe that was filed today. And I just want to say thanks a lot to Jason and Chief, because it was a really positive dialogue, talking about how we can keep folks safe. They've committed to getting a bouncer, keeping access, safe, emergency access, egress clear, all the good things that you want from a business owner that's going to really be able to kind of get some peripheral benefits from a big festival like that. So.
One follow-up note on that same topic. Chief and I did have discussions. He's looking to really beef up his security force. He's going to have special duty officers there, as he always does, but he's going to increase those numbers this year. We will have for you, he's looking to potentially involve Morrow County, which we have not done. So I will have, and we're working on a mutual aid agreement because Morrow County is not Delaware County. So when we have mutual aid from Delaware County, they are already within their own jurisdiction because they're within this county. So they can come over here and they have the legal authority to act. But Morrow County officers, absent a mutual aid agreement, do not have the authority to act as special duty officers in Delaware County. So we're looking, and we'll have for you at your next meeting with emergency language on it, a mutual aid agreement with Morrow County for your approval, so we can get some extra officers down here from their force. And he's been in contact with them about it. So
Good deal.
doing everything we can to keep it safe. A lot of people that come, and especially after COVID, I think people are looking forward to having a fun night like that. So we want everybody to be safe.
We've been meeting with the Civic for months now, talking about the safety plan, and Civic's been really open to addressing the safety concerns. Chief's come up with some great ideas. Dave, thanks for kind of tying this up with a bow and making everything formal. So good planning, ready for good execution. And the last thing I was going to say is just in terms of new or unfinished business, the county engineer, myself, Alan, and several representatives from ODOT today met regarding the Sunbury Parkway. It's going through a re-analysis or a re-environmental study, a new environmental study. Just the last environmental was approved, which enabled us to get track funding, which are federal dollars for the interchange. That was set to expire soon, so they need to start a new environmental study confirming the alignment. We don't expect any, huge swings in the alignment, and it was just a really positive conversation around, us working collaboratively on how are we going to solve this together, how are we going to crack this nut. So, and then they also talked about, improvements and widening to the existing 36-37 exit. Looking at some unique traffic interchange design as part of the broader initiative. These are still at least 18 to 24 months out till we get, the environmental back. And at that point, you're looking at having full engineering complete. At that point, we're still probably 4 years out from breaking ground.
That's just phase one, breaking ground, right? Which would be the other side.
That's all I have. All right, we are on to the appointment of the acting administrator. So with Alan leaving, we've identified that there are several charter obligated responsibilities by the administrator. I mean, even within council rules and just some different elements of our code. An administrator is necessary to have on staff, whether there are permanent and long-term administrator or whether somebody goes on a leave of absence, whatever that may be. We need to appoint an acting administrator, and it would take a motion and a vote. In this case, with Alan's last day being the 30th or 31st, the next day I would like to make the recommendation that we have a motion to appoint Steve Piles in the interim, former Granville City manager, former Wellington city manager for 15 years. And we're just blessed to have him on staff. He offered to do it, no additional expense, and indefinitely until we can find our next administrator. So I felt like that was a really blessing of him coming forward and bringing that forward. So I'd like to make the motion to appoint Steve Piles as acting administrator at the departure or after Alan's last day. Second by David Cap. Discussion.
Are we gonna, should the motion state until we hire a new, or until we have a new administrator on staff, or I don't know if it needs to.
Yeah, I would say, effective immediately and until a replacement is obtained.
I amend my motion to what Mr. Green said.
I second over it.
Discussion? Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Purchase order number 34824, Leo Myers Best, $19,274.46 It's a reimbursement grant. The village portion is 48,1862. We've already approved that, but we need to front the money. So there's a shortage of 14,455.84. I did find out what all those different items were. They were like carrying cases, holding cases, special plating that goes within the vests. If you have any more specific questions, you can ask the chief. Got a motion on the floor. I made that motion.
Second it.
Second by Greg Elliott. Discussion? Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
We have purchase order 34,846 for the total 6,367. You may think that number is the total number of municipal residents in the village of Sunbury, and that is because it is $1 per every resident. Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District membership. And what this partnership allows us to do is leverage several different, I'll say, specialty areas that the Delaware County Soil and Water Conservation District that we don't have the capability, the bandwidth to do right now. It's really kind of a great deal. We pay $6,300 a year to stay compliant with our MS4 permit. And it allows us to do things with stormwater. Alan, do you want to add any color into this? It's
Only that Brad Gerwig, myself, and June Deal spent a great deal of time on this, and even with the assistance and help and support of Soil and Water. Now it's Brad by himself for a little bit. We met with those folks last week. Cindy Cooper was there, both for council insight, but also she has expressed a keen interest in volunteerism in the village. And this, particularly working with Kristen Hilson, who's their June of sorts, their public affairs individual, does all the program coordination, and they do classes and events, and we will certainly have our new person in touch with them as well. But it does lend itself to have some programming where we can publicize them more and get more volunteers and plug them right into putting those tags on each of our catch basins and some of the programs that we've done in the past. So it certainly, in fact, they offered and had every intention of being here tonight. But because of all the things we have going on, I suggested that they wait till those new persons are on board, Brad, and them develop a plan. And then this agreement is for this year, which is, half over, but they have a lot to do. They felt like they could get that stuff done. I felt very comfortable with their new personnel. And then they will invoice us at the end of the year, but then work with Brad and staff to engage in what we're going to do for next year. They're also the group that we paid an additional amount 2 years ago to create that plan or the map. So we do have GIS mapping of our stormwater, and we'd love to see that continue and grow bigger as well. So just wanted to make sure we kept it rolling. And since this is my last meeting, I wanted to make sure that there was continuity. The other issue is last year, this amount fell under what the mayor could sign. And so he did. So it did not come before council last year. And now that we've realized that's over the limit of 4,000, it's coming to you tonight. So
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
We got a second by Tim Ghost. Discussion? Roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
7 yeas.
And for one of our next meetings, we should probably discuss spending limits, and do we want to continue approving purchase orders for, $4,000, $10,000? I think these are things that the council should consider. Right. We have ratification of Kathy Belcher as clerk of council.
Kathy served in that capacity ever since she became director of finance by the charter. She was village fiscal officer back then. In reviewing she recently had to sign some things for us where they really wanted a clerk of council signature. So we got to looking into, have we ever formalized her as clerk of council since we adopted the charter and couldn't find where we had. And the charter says that you can appoint a clerk to serve you. So this is just a ratification of her serving that capacity. So when she needs to sign things, she can sign them not only as director of finance, but as your clerk. So we need a motion and a vote, assuming you're so inclined to confirm her as your clerk of council.
I'll make the motion to make Kathy the clerk of council with emphasis.
Second that.
And if we
Good
could,
emphasis.
could we ratify her service as clerk of, ratify and confirm her service as clerk of council since the adoption of the charter? Because she has served in that capacity. I just don't think we've ever formally adopted it. That way, if someone were to look at, well, what about the thing she signed last week, you're ratifying that signature.
So what do I say? Ratify?
Ratify and confirm.
Ratify and confirm,
Kathy is clerk of council effective with the adoption of the Sunbury Village Charter.
but what Mr. Bream said.
Verbatim. I'll second that with emphasis.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ray Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Before we go into executive session, the last thing I wanted to say, I did meet with Scott Sanders last week from the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission in person. Got a nice office. It was a really good meeting. We had a great meeting, actually. He has so many more tools available to that we should be using. And like myself included, that's just free access. Anybody can go out to the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission site. I know probably those who are on our who are on the committee probably know this information already, but just the community dashboard information where you can select, Sunbury or Berkshire or Galena and look at, median household income, population statistics, valuation breakdown in pie chart form. I mean, everything is very visual, very real time. Click and, put a couple of municipalities or townships together to see what the combination looks like. It shows our land use breakdown, education percentage, higher education, a bunch of really, I think, quick at the fingertip pieces of information that would be beneficial to become acclimated with. And I think if anything, you become more informed, better educated just by looking at some of the more user-friendly ways of getting data. With that said, he was our census, I forget what his title was with the census, but like the head guy for Delaware County for the census. And he's still anticipating that we will be certified as a city sometime in September. And with that said, Gary.
Before you move on to executive session, I would you brought up that we're going to talk about the amount that the mayor could sign or a PO that didn't need a PO that we voted on. I would like to ask Mr. Bream and Ms. Belcher for their advice when it comes to that discussion. So if we're going to have that at our next meeting, would you be prepared to talk about that a little bit?
We did have some informal discussion, just administrative wise. The mayor was involved in it when we brought forward the idea of ratifying the prior expenditures. Certainly there's a long list of things on there. And if you look at the list, the consensus was, I don't know necessarily this requires or warrants a legislative act for those expenditures. So certainly where you're at now at 10,000 for the mayor, the administrator's only at 1,000. We had talked about maybe a 5 and 10. And I had talked about maybe even having something for you tonight, but we had just had that conversation Thursday or Friday, whenever it was. And I got to looking at it, and it's not just the purchase order side of it that I have to change to do that. So, I didn't want to rush into it and I thought we could have discussion about it tonight, but that's at least would be a starting point. And then you can obviously review it as things move forward in the future, but going from, again, you're back to your default of 4 and 1. And that really hamstrings the ability to do things. And those historically have come from a long time ago,
Yeah.
put it that way. Or maybe there was the council reacting to what they thought was expenditures that were being done without enough thought, put it that way. And they really clamped down on it, but,
So, and I'm a little new, do we have even if we increase it, let's say 5 and 10, is there, but can we budget and like say, after a certain dollar amount, then we have to start to review?
well, it's still subject potentially to the appropriations that you all approve.
Okay,
And, you know, they should be, again, they're an administration, they all should be working together and they should be working with Kathy and or within budget, you know, within this area for me to sign this. But again, if you look at that list, a lot of that list is not anything that they're going out and thinking up on their own. It's just ordinary business that everybody knows is happening where they have to actually approve it.
so if we have an emergency repair that needs done, then we have to call in a contractor, how does that, we can't wait 2 weeks to, like, what's the process for that?
So it doesn't happen that often, thank goodness, but we have had occasions where we have had to either A, convene an emergency meeting, or B, somebody has to stick their neck out, which isn't ideal. I mean,
Right.
you ratified something tonight. You know, we had one time, I know, down on Columbus Street where there was an emergency sewer and we had to have whoever it was, Zimmerman's come in and there was just there was no emergency. It's like right now, it has to be done. I mean,
Right.
if the street's torn up, there's sewer, it's got to be fixed now.
Right,
And at that point, I think it was Tommy said, fine, what am I going to do?
right.
Do it. And then at the very next meeting, which I think was coming up in a few days, luckily it wasn't a long wait, council ratified it. But again, knock on wood, we don't have that. And even that one, I think would have been within the 10, but it wasn't within the 4, if I remember right.
correct.
One, I think it was 8 or something
Right.
like that.
Yes.
So
Was
again,
it,
you have the ability to have an emergency meeting. You could have an emergency meeting on 24 hours notice. You can even have it faster in the case of a real emergency. But you've got to be able to get a quorum together.
was it under 4,000 and then increased to 10,000 because of COVID?
Because of COVID, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 4 mayor, 1 administrator, which now is what you're back to. But the plan was for me to bring legislation forward. I would propose to bring it forward at 5 and 10, which again has worked very well. It really, it's just been the 10. It hasn't even been 5. But to the extent you've got an administrator that's there, 40, and you've got a part-time mayor, it'd be nice to have the 5 on a day-to-day basis for the administrative staff.
Would that preclude the administrator from, say we had like a service contract and it was $3,000? Could the administrator do that since it's under the 5, or would we still need to go through?
If we increase the limits to 5, then they could approve the 3. As of right now, the administrator can't do it. He has to wait for Joe to get there.
Gotcha.
But Joe's there. I mean, right now he's there a lot, right? And I don't mean to demean, he's probably laughing part-time when I said that, because I know the type of hours he's putting in right now. But still, it's not, the administrator's full-time, the mayor isn't right now. So in my opinion, to discuss it, I would increase it to 10 and 5 and see how that works and then reassess it. But certainly 1 and 4 is not
Okay,
really,
right.
it's not,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little cumbersome.
It's very cumbersome. I mean, even just having Alan's that limit be so low, I sign probably 40 purchase orders a week. I don't know. I mean, it's like, because Alan didn't have the authority to do it. And it's like, as much as I want to say, okay, I'm going to read every single page, it's like, okay, this needs to go out now.
And there are dual signature requirements. You've got dual signature requirements. So it's not as though
Right.
you're gonna have somebody just unilaterally striking 499, $4,000 checks. Or POs.
And I have screened a lot of those and put my okay on it or whatever, so that the mayor knows that it's been vetted and you don't have to do a lot of research or what have you.
And it's been so long since I looked at it, but I want to say at the time we went to 4 and 1, the administrator's threshold was 25 by revised code. 1,000.
Oh,
And I think it's what a statutory city would be. 25,000.
Which, understand, this government, in my opinion, the village has done an excellent job fiscally. I mean, excellent. And I would stand by that. I mean, we've got reserves, you know, all the funds are doing well. I mean, there isn't a bunch of extra money being thrown around and has not been.
Right.
I think you want to keep that. But again, when you've got the mayor who's part-time, doing a full-time job, having to sign 40 purchase orders in a week, I mean, that is a little much.
Yeah.
So if I can go ahead and draft something, I would bring it forward to you in the 5 and 10. Again, you can always amend it, discuss it before you pass it. But is that kind of, do I get a sense that we should try that and have something for next meeting?
Yes.
A lot of head
what
nodding.
are others, what are other similar sized cities do? I mean, can we at least get a sense of what that looks like? I know you said 25 some places, but just so we're not just working in a vacuum.
Alan, if you and/or whoever.
You remember what kind of authority you had over in Delaware, Alan?
I was trying to think. I know it was at least, the manager was 10 and I think it went up to 25 of them, but that's a bigger city.
Mhm.
And
Three people in the office.
yeah, and the mayor, I think it was really the city manager, and then they did what was called a warrant. So rather than sign every check and every PO, they would come up with basically a balance, like your checkbook kind of thing, and they'd sign it once a month, and the mayor would sign that. So they streamlined the procedures, but there were limits on what the manager could spend.
Could ask Ms. Miller, our newly appointed zoning person about Powell.
I'm indifferent on this, because, it'd be my limit that we're talking about, or the future administrator's limit. But I think you know me well enough. I'm trying to get through the agenda as efficiently as possible. I think it could even be, okay, set the limit and then, hey, every meeting here's what we do. And then if there's questions about it, question it either offline or online. Or not. I mean, I just look around the room here. I remember approving like technology upgrades while nobody else was, no offense. Well, nobody else was in this building. I was in here doing the cost analysis, finding out the best deal to get, shopping the contractors, shopping at Costco, at Walmart, not going with the $100,000 proposal we went through last year. And we got all this for like $17,000. So I think that's the type of spending that we're talking about approving, not, repaving Joe St. John Street. In very small increments. Every 2 months. Anyways, all right. And then on the last thing I was going to say, Gary Merrill had formally invited us, all of council, all of staff, to a joint commissioners meeting where once we do become a city, we could celebrate it together in a joint meeting with the commissioners. I thought it was very appropriate. And that date's to be determined. We should have 30 days notice, sometime September, October-ish.
Tell them we want cake.
And second time I've heard that tonight.
Ice cream.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying.
I guess in the back of your mind, I know we've been really focused on really what needs to be done now, here and now, and that is the most important thing. But back to the whole getting the sentiment, built up in the village. Be thinking about things that we can do to celebrate, moving to a municipal city. All right, that's all I have. With that said, I'd like to make a motion to enter executive session per Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1 and 2 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official in conferences with an attorney.
And from there, we've actually got the wrong citation. It's compensation of employer or public official, but 2 is actually consider the purchase of property for public purposes, the sale of property at competitive bidding, or the sale of disposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in accordance with 50510 of the revised code. If the premature disclosure of that information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to members of the general public.
Got that?
Gotta say it again.
Gotta say it.
I agree with all of that. And I amend my motion.
Second.
Second by Greg Elliott. Discussion? Roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Goes,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Don't forget to terminate the recording and.
I ghost approved.
We heard you. We heard you.